Okay, so I go up to the front, ask Julio, what you giving me? And he tell me the white pill is the Anadrol 50, the blue pill is the Dianabol. And I said, where you get this stuff from? Walter J. Cox, sports doctor. What?
Oh, I've heard that was like the main guy down
here. It was the main dog.
Dr. Kerr back in
Dr. Kerr.
Yeah.
And Walter J. Cox was also a judge on a lot of the show platforms. Okay?
Networking.
Yes. And now Julio's giving me these pills, and I went up to 250. I'm about 250 now, solid as a rock. And he said, Big Monson, will you go to my next doctor's meeting? He said, I go twice a week and get shots. Really? He says, but it's not working with me. Look at you, I just give you pills and you're strong already. But genetics play a lot in this, right? Because remember I said he's from Belize. So he had a strong back and he could deadlift all outdoors, very strong. But he didn't tie in well. You know what I mean when I say tie in, right?
Yeah.
I said, okay, Julio, I'll go with you. So I go over to Walter J. Cox in Cedars-Sinai. That's the #1 hospital in LA, right?
Yeah.
Oh, right here behind the Beverly Center. We go over here, and the waiting room, all these big guys. I'm like, whoa, legs this big. Okay, even the guys who worked in the doctor's office were huge with white coats on. Look at this place. This is a laboratory, He said, come on back, Monson. I want you to go in with me for his consultation and for his injections. And the doctor was giving him a B12 shot along with his shot of testosterone and DECA. And so I go into the examining room, and Julio tells J. Cox that he wanted me to listen in so I could translate better for him, because he thought the doctor was just taking his money. So, and I'm sitting up there 250, already big. And the doctor, like, the heck with you, Julio, what about this big boy here? What you taking? I said, well, he been giving me a couple of them pills. He says, I've seen you at Venice Beach, because I was working out at Venice Beach. I said, oh, you have? He said, yes, you Monson, I've seen you, and you're natural, no, I don't take nothing. He said, well, now Julio's sitting up on the table and I'm sitting in the chair. Julio's on the examining table. He says, I can make you out a monster. I said, really? How much you weigh? I said, 250. You want to weigh 300? This is the mad doctor, Dr. Frankenstein. And I'm like, and he has on the white coat. And with that look in his eye, right? I'm like, yeah, I want to weigh 300. He said, I could take you there. I'm like, really? And Julio said, wait a minute. What about me? And the doctor explained it to him. He says, your genetics are different. He said, this man is already big, and if he starts now, he's going to woof, And I'm like, shit, I ain't making no money. I pay $450 to rent my stall in Hollywood. I'm doing hair. I don't have that many clients, and da-da-da. And I'm thinking, I'm trying to add, how much is this going to cost me? And he tell Julio, okay, go see the receptionist, and he'll take these to her, his prescription, and I'll see you next week. Mr. Monson, I'd like to talk with you. Julio got to leave the room.
Yeah.
And so me and Doc, and Julio's pissed now because it's not me and Doc.
Yeah.
And that's his doctor. Doctor says, I said, Doc, how much is this going to? He said, ain't going to charge you nothing. What? He says, you are going to be my publicity. He said, just tell people who you see. Just like that. I'm like, sure. He said, but I need to see you 3 times a week. What? I got to run over here 3 times a week. I'm working on Hollywood Boulevard. My gym's downtown, and I got to, oh my, Well, he was giving me testosterone and the shot, and he'd give me a prescription, and I go right across the street from my salon was a pharmacy, and they'd give me my Dianabol and Anadrol 50 with his prescription, right there. told me to take 3 Diana balls a day and a half of Anadrol 50 because it's one of the most toxic steroid there is. Now this is him talking to me because I know nothing about this. He said, and don't you overdo it. I'm like, really? He says, most people overdo it. Don't overdo it because you'll have heart problems later, kidney problems, and all that. And I'm already scared of that, right? I'm 30 years old now, okay? Started loading me up on that shit. By the time I was 33, that was Mr. World. I went to Mr. World. No, I was at Venice Beach working out. Paco Arce, and I have a picture somewhere here. The first day Paco Arce came out and saw me, do you compete? I hadn't competed since Mr. LA. Oh no, Mr. California. I went back over there. But all those were still natural. I was still natural. When I did the Mr. World, I was juiced, okay? And Paco Arce saw me and he said, oh, the world have to see you. You don't compete? I said, not anymore. And I had 23.25-inch arm that day standing out there. I have a picture here somewhere with me and Paco together. And my arms are this big, right? I was so big, and I was doing 585 on the bench, 5 reps.
Wow.
Okay? And they kept saying, Big Craig, do 6. Big Wes, who was working with me, Wes Crockett, he would go to 630, okay? But after he'd do 630, then I had to take my shirt off because he shut me down, but I still had a 32-inch waist. Yeah. You could put your finger in his navel that much, you know? Because his waist was 52 or bigger. He's a big bodyguard. And humble, nice guy, very nice guy. And we had 200-pound dumbbells that they would have to hand them to us, the guys. And you know, 200-pound dumbbells are very hard to manage. To pick them up from the ground, you know, they're awkward to lift. They'd pick them up and try to hand them to me, okay. Or I put them right here, stand them up right here. Put my hands on, okay, now walk back with me with 200 pounds. Bam, man, I drop them like that, bam, bam, okay, get out the way, yeah, bam, and drop them, you know. Yes, very good, I love that. I've always loved the heavy weights, more impressive. At Venice Beach, how many rows we got? From the gate back to the taco stand, I'd have to have, if I didn't have 12 rows, I wasn't putting on the 5 plates yet. I had to have them from the gate all the way back. Middle ways, that's about 8 rows. I said, no, we need a couple of more rows of people. And so once they got from the gate all the way back, and traffic couldn't even walk by, I said, okay, let me do 500 now. And I have a video, putting 500 on, and I'm repping it. And I raise up, I say, damn, I wanted 12, because I did about 10. I wanted 12. And he said, well, get a little more rest, eat another banana, because in my bag I kept my fruit, my bananas and apples to rejuvenate while I'm working out. I'd be out there 3 hours sometime, then it'd be in the sun. Now I can't stay out there 15 minutes. High blood pressure and all that stuff. And my doctor telling me to stay out the sun. I'm in a Jeep Wrangler. I like to take my top off, right, with no top on. I got a cap on, no, I got to put the top back on. I got a Vet 78 anniversary series, T-tops, not street legal. We took the high-rise and Holly full barrel off and put on the Ellerbrock. My mechanic's working on it right now as we speak. When I bring it over here to Emily, the owner, Craig, it's too much noise because it shakes the building. You know, they got the low. But when I take the top off, it's too hot for me now, the sun. Oh, wow. Yeah, and I'm too big. When I'm sitting up in that little car, I look like a monster. You know, like the animated guys they used to draw, my head standing up out the, you know. But that's my cost of being big, because I wanted to be big. Guy pull up beside me, this just recently, a year ago. And I had 21.5-inch forearms at one time. The guy pull up, he said, man, them some massive forearms hanging out of that Jeep. And it just makes you feel good. Here I am, 60-something years old, still getting some kind of compliment, you know. I'm like, thank you. Another one guy, I'm at a taco stand in the line, because I love tacos, okay? And the guy said, man, you know, you remind me of an old bodybuilder. I said, yeah, what's his name? Craig Monson. I laughed. I said, yeah. He said, what's your name? I said, Craig Monson. But you know, when I went to Mr. World, in Geneva, Switzerland. After that day, Paco Arce met me at Venice Beach. He says, you have to compete in the world. I don't qualify. He said, yes, you do. Okay, the amateur world. He said, I'm going to send you an itinerary and you take steroids. I said, yeah. He said, I'm going to send you some good stuff. So, and he lived in Madrid, Spain. Paco Arce was the vice president of Elizabeth Cosmetics. Okay, you know the cosmetic line. And so he had a villa in every major city. I opened the mailbox one day and I couldn't get the stuff out the box at my apartment. The mailman has pushed all that stuff in there in yellow envelopes. Steroids, needles, syringes, itinerary telling me how to take this stuff. Primobolan, parabolan. I never heard of this stuff. Break off type. You break the bottle off. A little razor, saw the top a little bit, pop it, pop. And the Deca, up until the contest, they start at 100 milligrams. The closer you get to the contest, you drop down 50 milligrams. The week before the contest, 2 weeks, you at 25 milligrams. And Big John Brown, remember that name? Big John Brown, I used to watch him at Venice Beach when he was just a kid with this long skinny neck. He had a long skinny neck, had a nice physique, big nice abs. Next thing I know, I'm looking at him in the bleachers. I'm jumping around now, this back in time. And he's looking good. I'm like, what you doing? Him and Tony Pearson. Remember that name, Tony Pearson. Tony Pearson was just this little skinny kid. And I had been training way before these guys. Yeah. Okay? And all of a sudden they got these muscles. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Because I didn't know nothing about the steroids. Anyhow, this stuff that Paco Arce sent me in the mail, I started taking it along with what Dr. Jaycox was giving me, and I became a monster. I really became a monster overnight. Preparing in City Gym for the show. Okay, I had a lot of support from the gym. Paco Arce sent me tickets and everything. When I get to Geneva, Switzerland, I have to share a hotel room with another guy. Big John Brown was there. He was there competing in the pros. Okay. Mr. World. I'm in the amateur. And I tell Big John, we're in the elevator together. And I'm telling him how nervous I am. He's, what you nervous about? I said, man, shit, I'm over here in Switzerland and, I don't know what the competition's going to look like. He said, Big Craig, I'm a pro. Stop, wait. He stopped the elevator between floors. And the elevator had wraparound mirrors, okay? He stopped the elevator. He said, take off that jacket. And I take off my jacket. He took off his. He said, look how you make me look. I made him look small. I'm looking. He said, do a double bicep. He did a double. He said, look. He said, I'm going in the pros. But I had 70 pounds on John. Okay, I competed at 272 in the Mr. World. And back then, nobody was doing that.
No.
The closest thing was 230. Calwack. Remember Calwack?
Yeah.
Calwack was in the pros with John. I heard he died, God bless him. Big John says, Craig, you could be in the pros and do well, okay? So, my head was okay now. The guy who I'm sharing the room with, this guy trained in Serge Nubret's gym. He lives in Paris. Who's going to win the show? An American or somebody from Europe? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and it was in the Poly Expo, which is like our convention center. They had 28 people. But mind you, I had been training at Venice Beach. And so when I walked out on stage, and it was like this, hardwood floors, you could hear me walking. And I walked heavy on purpose. And the people started saying, Monson, Monson, because some of these people had saw me at Venice Beach.
Yeah.
Okay? This is my first time in Europe, and they calling my name. I said, damn, these people know me. Monson, that's Monson, Monson. The way they were saying it. And I went through a little routine, whatever. Then I did my show. I had a good show, good performance. They had 68 countries competing.
Wow.
68, a lot of contestants. And when they winnowed it down to the top 5, right? And I was in the top 5, I'm happy. I'm like, oh shit. But I'm looking down the line, Josh, and when you look down the line, you say, ain't nobody here to beat me.
Yeah.
The guy I'm sharing the room with, he and I taught class. I'm like, nah. But now, back it up. In the hotel room, I didn't beat him in the hotel room. Man, come here, get in the mirror, let me see. And he was from Italy. He spoke, or Europe. He spoke funny. Mm-hmm. And said, do a double bicep, do a side shot. And I'm comparing. I said, oh, I got him beat too. But he's tall, and he's good looking. He's tied in good. And he trains at, I didn't know, but I found out later, he trains at Serge Nubre's gym. And Serge Nubre was one of the sponsors of Wabba Nabba. Remember that organization, Wabba Nabba? And they had merged that year. Okay. They merged to Stronger, Better Alliance or whatever. Anyhow, when the smoke cleared, my roommate was the winner.
Oh. And
I was 5th place. And the crowd now this is in Europe, they don't do like American, they start chanting my name, Monson, Monson, and stomping their feet, and they rushed the stage. That's the stage there, they rushed it to the bottom of the stage. Paco Arce was sitting in the front row, that's my sponsor.
Yeah.
He's sitting there, he's laughing, and he's a Spaniard, so he has that's the wrappy they put over.
Yeah.
And he's decked out. And he's laughing. I look down and see him, and his feet are off the floor. He's laughing so hard. They rushed the stage. And I said, oh, what the hell? And the top 5 were on the platform. I stepped off the platform, walked to the edge of the stage, and start posing on them. Okay? The crowd went nuts. Judges, they talking in their language. They had to settle the people down. They wouldn't settle down. This is Europe. They're not Americans. Americans, they'll take an ass whooping. The judges came up and said, okay, People's Choice, 1st place. Gave me the 1st place trophy. Judge's Choice, 5th place. And give me the box of candy because we're in Switzerland, right? Yeah. They don't have a trophy to get the guy, which I shared the room with him, right? I'm like, uh-oh, I got to go back to the hotel with this guy. Yeah. Heartbroken. When I got back, he opened the little refrigerator, he done got drunk. Look, John Brown and I, we went and celebrated. But I'm jumping again. I had took my 8x10s, some of the ones I have here, took those to sale. I had sold all my 8x10. And this is the first time I'm putting this on video. I'm glad to say it now. I sold out of everything. And they were blinking the lights on and off to clear the auditorium. They wouldn't let me out of there. It's time to go. They closed the auditorium. Now, you know how long that take. 2,800 people. They blinking the lights. It's time to go. It's time to go. And John Brown is waiting on. He says, no, Big Craig, take your time. They can't rush us out of here. Take your time. These are your fans. Because the people are still around me. I done sold out. I ain't got nothing else to sell. Mm-hmm. One guy, he take my foot. He take my towel, dry my back off, and put my my robe on. That same robe that I wore with Serge, but I had cut it off now. And I cut it to short waist, okay, with the hoodie, okay. And it was made out of that terry cloth, real thick, burgundy. He took my foot, he turned around like you're gonna shoe a horse. You know when you see the cowboy movie, he turned around, took my foot, took my towel, cleaned my foot off, and put my foot in my slippers that I had. I had the ballet slippers. You know, it goes with the bodybuilding style, you know. You gotta be classy, okay? And put my foot in this and asked me to sign the towel. I signed my towel and gave it to this kid. You know, I was like, whoa, sold all my pictures and gave my towel away.
Wow.
That's how great I felt. When we came outside into the parking lot, there were 2 chartered buses. People were hanging out the window, calling my name, and on the way trying to get out the door, I hadn't sold all these pictures and stuff. I had money falling out of my pockets. The kids were picking up my money, giving it back to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not in America. They'd have been pocketing that money. They were picking up the money off the floor, giving it, son, your money. I'm like, whoa, because they were rushing us out of the auditorium. I came back home with the 1st place, 5th place, a box of candy, and a spirit of Europe, okay? A spirit of, whoa, my God. The man who was the DJ in that show, played the music, he contacted me. He said, I'm doing a show in London. I want you to come do a show for me. All expenses paid. I'm like, what? He said, yes. It was called Night of the Crystal. He said, it's not as big as the whatever, but you'll have a good time in London. It's in the Midlands. Well, I didn't know anything about London, but I'm like, I'm coming, okay? He sent for me. When I get to the Heathrow Airport, I got to get on a train and ride the train for 3 hours into the Midlands. That's way in the country, okay? All this was beautiful. I keep passing all these little towns, all these little brick houses, all this landscape. I'm looking at the countryside in London. Free. They sent for me. Same guy who'd been in the pen, right? Same guy. Now I'm going all over the world. People wanting to see me, right? And I'm loving it. So go to the show. This is in London. They doing the same thing. They're promoting bodybuilding in London. When I get to the airport, I get off the airplane, they got posters of me up on the wall. First time in London. Craig Monson competing tonight at the so-and-so, bigger than the Hulk. I got a picture of that in one of the magazines from London. It says bigger than the Hulk, first time in London. And I see it on the wall and I pull in my luggage with the little rollers. I'm only supposed to stay a couple of days, right? How do I feel now? I see my poster up in the airport. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
My head's big as a melon. I got to ride the train for 3 hours from the airport through the Midlands and go to prejudging. I'm going to prejudge. I'm flat. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I was eating tuna out the can in my bag on the train. And I'm thinking, I got to go to prejudging and I'm feeling flat, I need to eat, but I didn't bring nothing but tuna. I need to carb up. I got to carb up. I need to drink some red wine. I need to eat a burrito or something.
Some pub beer in England.
And, over there, they corned beef and hash. I need to eat though. And I said, I'm going to be flat. And so they had a little van pick me up at the train station, take me straight to the prejudging. I got to go in there, take my clothes off, and I'm flat, and I'm telling, no, this ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work. Y'all gonna kill me with this. It's not gonna work. The show is that night. But lo and behold, this is Europe, and John Brown was famous over there. John Brown was like 4-time Mr. Universe in the Wabanaba organization. And he was the Michael Jackson of bodybuilding, because he could pop lock and do all that posing, He could dance on stage. And at Venice Beach, I was known for my Ray-Ban sunglasses and my Japanese hat, okay? I always wore a little cap, but I bought them down in Chinatown. Anyhow, John Brown is there at the prejudging. He said, don't worry about it, Big Craig, don't worry about it. I said, man, because when I went out for the show, I was flat. I was dead. When nothing come, most nothing with waking up, no veins, no nothing, and I was discouraged. John Brown said, "We're going to eat." So after the show, John Brown, he'd been to Europe a lot of times. We go and we eat, and we had a beer, okay. And I don't drink alcohol. Period. We had some beer, and I know I picked out. My belly was sitting all up high, But that night the belly done went down. It done digest the food. And Paco was there, my promoter. He said, Big Craig, your body came alive. Because on the stage I started hitting and I felt it waking up.
Wow.
I said, oh, I got him now. And that stuff started coming. I said, oh yeah, it just started waking up. And I'd do a shot, bam, my leg or calf. I said, oh yeah, there it is. Backstage, I'm saying, oh, it's coming, I'm waking up. By the time I was on the stage, standing room only. When I walked out on stage, I could see the people in the aisleway standing. Remember, they promoting it in London. Yeah. I started posing, the crowd went crazy. And this routine, my pose, excuse me. I'm trying to cut it off. There we go. I had put together my soundtrack from Cecil B. DeMille's The Ten Commandments. Okay? And when Moses stood up on the rock and he said, let my people go, and there were horns. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Whomp, 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 whomp. Well, I was like this. Whomp, 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 whomp. And I opened up and the crowd went crazy.
Not bad.
But see, I put the horns to go with the hunt because they do the hounds in the hunt. I said, oh, they'll love this. And then when it was time for the most muscular, the movie called Earthquake with Charleston Heston, and the buildings are falling. And back then, special effects with the soundtrack, with the buildings falling, that was dun, 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 boom, 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 boom. Crazy routine. Crowd loved it. And then at the end, dun, 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 the joyness coming back to life. The crowd loved it. I loved it. Walked to the end of the stage, walked right to the edge, looked down at him and growled. Ah! My promoter said, Craig, we could feel your breath 4 rows back because I was like King Kong. But you have to be a showman, okay? John Brown, he told me that in the first one. He said, Big Craig, you got to be a crowd pleaser. Don't be so hard, because I used to be hard. He says, show your teeth, smile, show them that you're having a good time. This is you. This is Craig Monson. You're the biggest thing here. And he would build me up. Yeah. He built me up so good, so I said, okay. So when I would start my routine at home practicing, I practiced being happy. I practiced because I had never had the charm before, walking into a room and everybody happy to see you. Yeah. Before, remember, I was a gangster. So now I got to flip this. I got to walk into a room and people like me instead of the other way around.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the physical preparation also that you had?
Yes.
And Tracy
yeah, what were
San
some of your best lifts? Because
okay,
a lot of people that watch our stuff a lot of people are more into powerlifting than bodybuilding. And
yes.
So these numbers are very impressive to people. So what are some of your kind of feats of strength?
Okay, coming up from the 400-pound bench press. That was my warm-up. I used to warm up with 400 pounds, 4 sets, 25 reps with 400. Then I'd go to 500. I'd skip 450, go straight to 500, and I would do another maybe 3 sets, 500 pounds, 10 to 12 reps.
And this is why you're at Venice?
This is only at Venice. Okay. Only at Venice because Venice had the racks on the bench press that came right beside my head. In City Gym and Iron Man's gym, all these gyms, the racks went all the way out to corner to corner.
So collar to collar.
You collar to collar. And Arnold told me to go collar to collar. When I used to train with Arnold at Venice Beach, and I was doing the regular grip, on the bar, the rings. Arnold, he said, "What you doing? What are you doing, Big Craig?" He says, "You're hindering yourself." I said, "What?" He said, "Your shoulders are this wide and you're benching right here." He said, "Put your shoulders into it and your back arm. Put your arms out here. You're wide enough." I said, "Really?" Just by doing that, I went up 30, 40 pounds.
So then you do the heavy bench, and what would the rest of the chest workout look like?
Okay, then I'd go to inclines, straight to incline. And they have a picture of Arnold at Venice Beach right now on the wall.
Yeah.
with about, that might be 285 in there. But I shut Arnold down in the pit with 500. I'd incline 500, okay? I'd incline it for reps. And I'd look at him and smile, okay? There was a picture. I did a photo shoot with Arnold, not a photo shoot, but we took pictures. Arnold said, okay, Big Craig, no posing, no posing. And so we were like this, one, and then we shook hands, one, and then I'm winking at my cameraman, Big Will, the guy who hold me down, and then I was like this, and just as he snapped, I put my arm up. And Arnold said, nope. He was saying, no posing. When the picture came out, my arm was big as his head. His face was here, my arm was here. Big as his face. I'm like, look at there, look at there. But Arnold, you got to remember, whenever he came to the pit, he was off season. He was always smooth. You know what I mean? Yeah. Always smooth. And I was always right on time. I was always ripped and cut. So, I'm doing inclines with 500. Then I'd go over to the dumbbells, and I'd start, it depended on who was there. Because I worked Danny Trejo, okay? Danny Trejo, I always spotted him. And we friends right now today. I brought him here. He's come here to this gym for me to work with him. Then we'd walk over down the street.
Yeah,
and
I saw that mention of Flex Magazine a few years ago.
Yes,
you were working with him.
Yeah, that's my partner. I used to babysit his kids. He'd leave his kids with me on the beach. Okay? Hey, Craig, I got some business. I'll be back in an hour. He stayed gone 2 hours. Where you been, Danny?
How did you first meet Danny?
Venice Beach.
Oh, Venice Beach.
He was the only Mexican in the pit training. And I'd always...
Was he a movie star yet? Or
No.
Okay.
And I'm backing up. The day Danny went to join the casting agency across the street from Hollywood Eye, Danny called me. Big Craig, let's go try to get in the movies. I said, what are we going to do? He said, let's go join the casting. Danny came and picked me up. We went to the casting agency together, special type casting. I had the muscles, Danny had the look, right? I made one commercial. Danny did.
You were like, yeah.
Danny been famous ever since. He got taco stands down the street. If you go right to Highland and Santa Monica, he got a donut shop. Danny made it. When I was in the hospital laying on my back, who came to see me? Danny Trejo. Danny came, he's a Big Craig. I heard commotion down the hallway. Remember, I'm on oxygen. I'm on oxygen for 9 days, the big mask. And I looked up and there my dog is. He said, man, there ain't too many of us left. You get your butt up out this bed. I said, I'll be all right, Danny. I said, now that you're here, I'll be all right. Good to see you. Danny's 72 years old, okay?
That looks great.
Yes, yes. And I said, what'd they do to you? Because I've seen, you did something, But and he asked me about his bags. He said, Big Craig, they want to, I said, no, don't let them do it. That's your trademark, But no, Danny back in the 70s, maybe 80, I went with him to speak one time, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, and I went to that. But we also did one or two drug, like AA's, drug, what do you call it? Cocaine Anonymous and whatever.
Cool.
Yeah, because Danny had a thing and I had a thing. I had to go into rehab. I spent $4,447 to go lay up in a place called Acton in the mid-'80s. Remember I told you I quit bodybuilding. In the mid-'80s to cure a cocaine addiction. When that Noriega and President Reagan let all that coke over here in LA, I was a month riding in the back of the limousine tooting cocaine. Okay? Got hooked. I couldn't go to Betty Ford, but I went to Acton and got clean. I ain't looked back since.
Yeah.
Okay? Had to cut loose all my party friends. All the friends that had the big dough, the Mercedes and all that. I had to let them go because it was downfalling for me. Okay, but they wanted the big guy with them, right? Everybody wanted the big guy riding in limos and going to the club. They got the big man with them. Sure. Yes.
So go ahead.
Anyhow, back to working out.
That's what I said, the chest workout. So you did it. You got the heavy benches.
We got the heavy benching.
Incline 500. Dumbbells.
Start with 100 pounds from the floor.
Explain that so people get that.
Okay. Most people, when you're doing your dumbbell, you're sitting up and you grab your dumbbell, you put them on your legs, and then you kick them back up and you lay down, right? And you do your dumbbell bench press or flies. I would start off with my dumbbell flies with 100 pounds, lay them on the ground, lay down, stretch my arms out to the floor, get them from the floor, and bring them up 100 pounds. And then I'd have to hit the floor real hard so everybody in the gym know what I was doing. Bam! You hit the floor with 100 pounds on each side is going to make some noise. And I do that about 10 times, maybe 3 sets. The last set, 200-pound dumbbell, the guys have to pick it up, sit it here on my leg. It was standing that tall, 200 pounds, right? Okay, and then they have to walk back with it. Come on back with me and walk back with it. And I would only do 1 or 2 sets with that because it was too awkward.
Yeah,
okay. Then I'd go to incline dumbbells, only heavy ones, maybe 150 pounds, 140. Only heavy dumbbells. I'm already warmed up, so I don't have to warm up no more.
Yeah, you're very
okay,
warmed
I'm very warmed up. So at that point,
yeah.
But you see, remember I told you, even in the gym, I always carried me bananas, some kind of protein drink. I drink stuff and eat stuff during the workout to keep me hydrated, keep me pumping. A lot of guys taking back and trips to the water. I was eating. And it kept me strong, okay? That tuna in water, and it was nasty. I would take tuna packed in spring water, a lot of the time that bumblebee tuna, because it's white and a little heavier. Open the can, pour the water off, dump it in the blender, put that much warm water from the tap in the blender, and blend it up. Ooh, squeeze some lemon juice in it, fresh lemon. Blend it up, ooh, and hold my nose and drink it. Because sometimes you can't get past the smell. I drank that, maybe twice a day. Pure protein, okay? Because I wasn't too keen on drinking. Back then we had something called MLO, protein powder. A lot of sugar byproduct, break your back all out, top of your shoulder be all broke out. Too much protein, too much something in it. I didn't like that. I wanted to look smooth and clean. But the tuna really worked. Okay, back to the workout. So I do my incline heavy. Now, remember, sometimes it's better to start off your chest routine day working back.
Yeah.
Get that blood pumped in that back so when you lay down on that bench, you land on cushions. You got so much blood in your back, you feel like you land on pillows. You know, and so I would do back workout a lot of times, but not to fatigue. Just to get that blood in there and then go lay on that bench. I'd say, oh, there it is. And then
activation more or less.
Yes, and then once I started working, it was easy. Them arms would push off them lats. You know, you get so much blood in your lats, and they full and they strong. Instead of them been too weak and no blood there, they just when you go to bench, and I'm out here like this, right? Man, they come right back up. Pleased to death. Big Craig, why you want to do back first? A lot of guys, them crybabies.
Yeah.
You know, it was hard to get guys that wanted to hang with you.
Who were some of your training partners that we might know? Like, I know
Nobody.
Michael Christian and those guys.
No, Mike Christian was my buddy. I knew Matt. He was my partner.
Did you train with Arnold at all? You said you were lifting
Only in the beach. Only maybe 3 or 4 times, maybe 5 at the most. Venice Beach early Sunday morning. I would go Sunday. My team wouldn't get there to 12, but I might be there at 9:30. I'd be there early enough to get a parking because the beach always gets sold out, to get a parking and then watch the beach come alive. Okay, and that was my pig out day. So I was able to eat pizza. If you look on that picture with me with my arm, I got a pizza box right there beside me. I sit there and eat the whole pizza, waiting on my team to come. Meanwhile, I'm doing push-ups off the bleachers. This is when we had the old bleachers. I do push-ups off the bleachers and back arms off the bleachers. By the time the workout team got there, I'm already pumped up. I'm ready to go. Now that's at Venice, and we would stay out there 3 hours. That means we do chest, back, and then arms, chin-ups, okay, all of this stuff. But now in the beginning, when I wasn't juiced, I'd be fatigued. But I could hardly drive home. All right, I ended up moving like 3 blocks from the beach, okay, which was nice. Yeah, it was real nice. Had a 3-level place, real nice. But before then, I lived straight down Venice.
Now those workouts you were doing off the bleachers and everything, those push-ups and back arms and everything, is that something you were doing at Tracy or at San Quentin?
There you go.
Yeah.
You already know. That's it.
What was it? Okay, so what was the difference between the workouts on the inside versus the outside? Like,
okay, we did push-ups in the cell all day, all the time. And I used to win push-up contests. I did 2,800 push-ups in 1 hour. Okay, and that won me 2 cartons of cigarettes. Okay,
that's cash money in there.
That was the cash. You got it. But I did 2,800. Everybody else was falling off. It's falling off, and I kept going. Nobody's still around at 1,500, but I just kept going to see how many I could do. I kept going till I couldn't do one more. Okay, I was so tight. I was sore afterwards for a long while. But and then back arms off the sink. See, they locked down the prison for 3 weeks, and you couldn't go nowhere but the shower once a week, to the chow hall every 3 days for a hot meal. Other times you eating bag lunches in the cell. And so it wasn't no yard time. So in order to keep your stuff up you had to keep push-upping, back arms off the sink, and the bed, you had to do your stretching for your back off the bed, far as you could go back. And remember, in some cells it's from here to there. Okay, that's as wide as it is.
Not full range.
Okay, and then from not a full range of motion, yeah. Right behind the head of the bed, that's where your toilet is. So it's like you could get back there and lean. So, or you could do it off the bars. I used to put my towel around the bars and go all the way back from my back, and do those. Doing some kind of legs and nothing. You couldn't do no kind of legs other than holding the bar, doing body squats. 1,000 body, talking with your neighbor.
You do 1,000 body squats?
Oh, I do so many body squats. And then the body squat, you get down into parallel. You just don't break parallel and stay right there. Hold it as long as you can.
Static hold there.
Static hold.
Yeah.
Dynamic tension.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, that's old school
Dynamic. Then you sit there until your whole body's trembling, and then you try to go all the way down and sit there and then come up. Oh, you can't walk. But that blood would sit in your legs,
How long would you hold it for that dynamic?
Long as I could. I have no recall of the time, but as long as I could.
Yeah.
And, gosh, you taxing my brain.
Yeah.
There was one guy, he was a Hawaiian kid, and he practiced karate. And that guy could do that position, that thing. He was like, "Oh, you know about that big guy?" "Yes." And we would do it together. We worked in the laundry, and when we had a break, we would exercise. I was always exercising. Yeah. And so here I am exercising with a karate boy now. And he would do different things, Have me doing the push-ups where you hold your hand like this and put your chest in there and do them off. You talking about hard to hold your hands back, but that gave you a different strength. And it blocked that chest off. Just by doing your hand like that right now, you'll feel how your chest block off.
So the fingertips are on the floor? Or?
This.
Oh, okay.
Like karate chop.
Yeah, and you going down with your chest, putting your chest in there, coming up. Okay, and just doing. Huh?
I've never done that.
Yeah.
Position almost.
And it squares your chest. Feel it here. Yeah. Okay, and he'd do a whole. And I'm like, that shit don't work. Shit, it started working. Excuse my friend. It started working. Yes, and I loved it. Yeah. Oh my God.
Was there many impressive lifters in there?
Well, Big Bates, he stood 6'5", and he was a 500-pound man. I didn't do 500, right? Not in the pen. And another guy named Chubb. Chubb was a shorty, and he'd do 500. And Chubb go to the hole for 90 days, 3 months. They put him in the hole for something, and come out, he still do 500.
Probably a lot of bodyweight training in there.
Huh? All he did was
what about Tookie? Was he in there?
Yeah, but not with me. Tookie trained in my backyard as a kid.
Oh.
But I was the idol for them.
We talked to Big Jack a little bit about that.
Big Tall Jack.
Big Jack down in Laredo Heights.
Laredo Heights. No, Ladera Heights. But where did he live before that? He lived on 87th and Wadsworth.
He said he knew you. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Just
Jack.
before we had ever met.
Yeah, he said you guys would go get barbecue after the training session.
That's Jack.
Yeah.
That's Big Jack. Yeah.
He's a good guy.
He's my age.
Yeah.
Would Tookie be? He was younger.
They killed Tookie.
Yeah. I would say, but he was younger if he was alive.
Yeah, he was younger. And so I'm not supposed to talk about that with the book. But 3 weeks before he did what he did, he was with me in the gym. And he wanted to train with me because he had to impress me, you know. And after we trained together at Bill Pearl's gym on Manchester.
Oh, that's a legendary gym.
That's the legend. And that's where we were.
He's still alive, too.
Bill Pearl. Oh, I went to his gym in Pasadena for a couple of times back in the day.
Yeah.
A big Tookie. That was my friend. So I ain't got nothing bad to say about him. He was my friend. And he was a victim of the times, so was I. You know, I was a Black Panther at one time.
I did not.
No, you don't. It's all coming out of the book. I was a Panther in the 60s.
When's your book coming out?
He just started.
Okay.
He was with me Tuesdays 4 hours, and then before that, last week Friday, he was with me 3 hours. You know, so, and it's going to have segments, chapters, because he got to come from childhood, from Arkansas on up, and it can't just be about my gang stuff. It got to be about them paying to come for me to come to see me.
Of course.
You sending for me to go to London, coming back home with money in my pocket. I went to Rome, Italy 3 times. Okay, Paris, London, Geneva, Switzerland, the Canary Islands, Mexico City 3 times, climbing the pyramids. But I'm the guy from the east side. I'm the guy who went to prison.
That's quite the journey.
That would man, you know what I'm saying?
Sounds like there was a lot of lifting going on down there, though, back in the day. Like, it wasn't just fitness.
Because of me and Donnie.
Yeah, it was always
We made everybody. We had a gang.
It was like a separate golden era of bodybuilding, sort of.
We had a gang. If you wanted to be in the gang, you had to work out. You had to work out. Okay?
So what were respected numbers back then? What did people have to lift to be?
Oh, okay, like in Tracy, they had a 300 club.
Okay.
Okay? In the backyard, no, you just had to come and have the heart and not be a crybaby.
Yeah.
This is why I can't train people now. I have a client, not a client, a friend. He comes here, and I've known him since he's 26 now. Come in when he was 19, skinny in the rail. He said, "Big, you the big man, you the biggest man I've ever seen." Okay, I said, "Oh, thank you." And I was big then. He says, "Could you help me?" I said, "Look, anytime you need some advice, you come ask me. Anytime you need some help, just come ask me." I said, "But I'm gonna tell you, if you're gonna ask me, don't be asking these other trainers. Don't get confused. Okay, it's all about working out.
Of course.
You have to work out. You have to eat, sleep, and work out." I said, "Now you got a little thin frame. I've never worked with anybody so small." He was a runner. He's a school teacher at Hollywood High now. And I trained with him last week because last week was spring break. So he wasn't teaching. "Big Craig, can I work with you?" Of course. And then I'm an old man now, and I've come out of recovery, so I'm training very light. I'm like, cool. After 3 days in, on my thumb and my finger and my hand, I'm like, I can't do no curls, I can't do no dips and no back on. I said, "I'm so tired of you telling me what you can't do. You know, where's your heart? Are you angry at me?" I said, "You got them right, I'm mad." You know, how can you want to be wait, a couple of years back after he trained, he started sending me pictures. "I'm going to compete at Venice Beach." I said, "No, you're not." He sent me pictures out at the park over here. I said, "You look like you from Somalia somewhere." "Oh," he said, "I've been dieting." "What you dieting for? You ain't got nothing to diet for. You skin and bones." And then another guy here, Chris, he looks pretty good, older guy, 50-something. He said, "Craig, you shouldn't talk to him like that. Let him do it." No. Why would you want to get on the stage and there's nothing to show? You see, I waited till I had body. No, you have to have something to show to people. Don't get up there just because you want to.
Respect the sport, too.
Respect the sport. It's a bodybuilder. Oh, now they have the guy on the window. Is they still up there? A big picture? Is that picture still in the window?
Oh, I didn't see it.
Okay, they probably took it down recently. They created this thing called
Men's physique?
Men's Physique.
Men's bathing suit contest.
And they come out with swim trunks on. And they had it up in the window. And he works out here. Chad, Big Chad. He's my friend. I talked with him. He said, "I'm going to turn pro this." And "Are you still wearing them trunks and things here?" What is that? You know, I have no respect for that. I hate to say it, but they're going to see it.